Good evening, everybody. Happy President's Day. I watched a movie today about my least favorite president. We're probably going to talk about it in the podcast tomorrow. If anybody knows who my least favorite president is, it's not even Robinette, because he's not really the president. He's just a pretender to the throne, Brandon. But the worst president probably in American history was Woodrow Wilson. I visited his presidential library once in Virginia. It was his birthplace. We saw the bed where he was born, and I wound up there because I actually, like I do, travel around doing weddings. I've been doing that for 15 years now. Coming up November will be 15 years of my traveling wedding ministry. So I went down, I don't remember the name of the town. I remember there's a little synagogue there in the town, probably Reform Synagogue, not too far from where I met this couple. And there was the Woodrow Wilson Library. So I said to my wife, let's check that out. So we went, and we had the baby with us. I think Faggy was a little baby, and so we went to the Woodrow Wilson Library, and he was just the worst. He was the worst. My wife went to Princeton, so she has the shaykhs there also. She took courses at Princeton. She actually was a student at the Westminster Choir College in Princeton, but she would take art courses, other things at Princeton. So, because they have some kind of a shutfus there. So, but there was a movie. How did I learn to hate Woodrow Wilson? From Glenn Beck, right? So Glenn Beck might say that Brandon is worse than Wilson. Maybe Wilson was certainly the worst of the 20th century. Wilson was worse than the other Southerner. There were two pretty bad Southerners, three in the 20th century. But the two in the later half, were LBJ and Carter. LBJ, he accomplished some good things, but he took credit for things that he had nothing to do with, because it was his party opposed the things that he accomplished, and then he rode on the coattails of the Republican accomplishments of civil rights, and the fact of the matter is Wilson did some good things also. But this movie was fascinating, and again, I'm basically making this video now to kind of try to understand what I want to talk about tomorrow night on the podcast, because I don't know how many people who watch the channel listen to the podcast. And then after the movie, I cleansed myself listening to a young historian, probably younger than me, a fellow with a master's degree, maybe a PhD also talking about a YouTube guy, about how much he hates Wilson. So it's because this propaganda movie, it was amazing. Nice. It had a great cast. Vincent Price had a small role in it. We were talking about Vincent Price last night. We went to the Witch's Dungeon Museum in Connecticut last night with the Mishpacha, and of course Cortlandt Hull is he was good friends with Vincent. So it was interesting. Vincent Price played, I don't remember, was a congressman, I think, that he played, who was close with Wilson. It was a very young Vincent Price. The movie's from 1944, so it was right in the middle of the war. And again, I had heard about this movie from Glenn Beck. He had a book of the heroes and villains of history, and which is a fascinating, a great book. Glenn Beck is a master storyteller. You know, he brings out history in such a wonderful manner that it's hard to describe. And I'll tell you something. I was listening to Glenn Beck in the car, and my son, he's 8 years old, he had a request of a particular Glenn Beck recording that I didn't even know that he was paying attention to, that I listened to maybe a few years earlier, and he remembered it, where he read Nixon's prepared speech, that what if, God forbid, the men who went to the moon couldn't come back. Nixon had a speech prepared if they were to die there, and my son wanted to listen to that. I found that interesting. That was something that he found meaningful. I'm just rambling on right now, but he mentioned this movie, which I believe Edith Wilson had something to do with, and she was very proud of. And the movie won a lot of Oscars that year, but it was a flop in the box office. The movie was a rather long movie, over 2.5 hours long. But it was worth a watch. It was a good President's Day movie to watch. The movie is actually quite nice, even though it's awfully propagandic, frighteningly so. But you have to understand that was World War II, and so there were certainly certain things that they brought in the film that touched on the war that was current at the time. But Wilson was just an arrogant piece of garbage. And I'm an arrogant guy. I recognize that. But I don't think I could do it either. I don't think I could be that arrogant, I keep thinking, maybe I should run for Congress. I don't have any higher ambitions than that. I can't imagine being a senator or governor. Congressman, maybe. If AOC could be in the Congress, Joe Kolakowski could be in the Congress, Although, if, what's the guy in Georgia? He could be a senator, the pastor. So maybe the Koblenzer Roof could also be a senator. I don't know. Not in New York. I doubt it. Things don't work that way in New York. But anyway, the film is it's made in Technicolor. It was obviously a very expensive movie. And they did, like I said, they did a very good job with this movie, but it was just so propagandic. Really put Wilson up on a pedestal. It was really just. I can't believe how gray my beard is. Well, really, but it's on YouTube. There was actually a bootleg version that was on YouTube that I found. So I really wanted to watch for President's Day a Jack Benny movie called George Washington Slept Here, which I think I've watched, but I don't remember it so well. But I was talking with Rabbi Kivlevich. We make these podcasts, and he recommended one of the Lincoln movies with a young Abe Lincoln or Lincoln in Illinois. And I'm coloring. Maybe that'll be what we watch tomorrow, because we make the podcast tomorrow. Tomorrow's Taka Washington's birthday. This whole idea of President's Day. And the thing was, we didn't lose a holiday when we got Juneteenth, right? So I don't understand. I'm not forgetting anybody. Martin Luther King Day. That's okay. You can, and it was Reagan who gave us Martin Luther King Day. So I'm very happy with that. But then we couldn't have Washington and Lincoln. So let's have one day President's Day. There's always a drush I like to say on Lincoln's birthday, because Lincoln was born the same day as Darwin. Not just this day, shared a birthday. They were born the same day, the same year. So sometimes it falls Shabbos, Lincoln's birthday. So they said, we have Darwin Zeichel Paisa Bereshis and Lincoln Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. When we say Kiddush. So anyway, I'm just rambling on. I don't know why I'm making this video, but it's interesting. Washington was still, I saw one video that said Washington is still the GOAT, greatest of all time. It's true. Washington was really an archetype. He was an archetype. He's like a canonized saint. And it's interesting how in this movie they were talking about Wilson's sainthood as a joke, but I think they really kind of meant it. They said in Italy they were burning candles to Wilson. I'll tell a story about that now that we're on that subject. Different, not even the Catholic. The very interesting story that Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik, right, from the Spanish and Portuguese synagogue, tells a very interesting story. Because he's from Chicago. So he said one of his neighbors in Chicago was, I think, Vietnamese or Laotian, and he visited their home for some reason. He noticed that they had a statue of Lincoln, and it was L'Shem Avodah Zarah. This pestle, this sketchka, and they said they learned of the godless, of the greatness of Abraham Lincoln. So they decide they're going to make in their home a shrine to Lincoln. And Kiminhogam, I don't know, there's some kind of Buddhist or Hindu, I'm not sure. In that area there are not really very many Hindus. I'm not sure what their traditional, they were East Asian. I wasn't sure what tradition they were. They could be some kind of a Taoist influence there too. What's the Netverner Rebbe doing here? A boat, Palats. I haven't been here in a little while. So, all right. Koblenzer Rebbe darf nicht kein größer Besmedrash, aber ein kleiner Besmedrash after. Anyway, we're so Lincoln. So they were so misspalled from Lincoln. They were so impressed by Lincoln. They decided they're making a shrine to Lincoln. They'd have a statue of Lincoln. They bought somewhere, and when they eat leftover food, they're going to make an offering to Lincoln. This is a story that Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik tells. So meaning when they would have their meal, before they eat, they take a little bit of each food. It's a minig of Avodah Zarah. A lot of Avodah Zarahs have this. And give a little to Lincoln as an offering, as a hakrova. And they they said, they told Rabbi Soloveitchik, they said, we give to Lincoln all Shraim from all our food, except, not even Shraim, it's the first, it's the, Bikurim, except for if it's Davar Acher, right? If it's Chazer, if it's pork or ham, that they're not going to give to Lincoln because it's named Abraham. We're not going to give a Jew ham or pork. It's a cute story. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. That was the best part of the whole video, the story at the end. It wasn't that good to begin with. All right, we'll see you later.